we are going to discuss 2012 LL paper question. LL paper number 1. If there is someone who hasn't done the paper, right, please complete the paper, and then if when possible you can go through the recordings and complete it, right? Hurry. Can we just moving into the question number 1. When you are searching, when you are answering for the MCQ, right, this type of a MCQ, what you have to do first, understand that thing. Always try to, when you are selecting the correct answer, try to identify the incorrect answers first and eliminate it. Then make it questions they are asking what is the main objective of accounting. එතකොට මේ වගේ question එකක ඔයා calculation එකක් කරලා answer එකක් ගන්නෙ නෑනේ. You have to select the answer out of the given thing. So then what you have to do is, first, don't search for the correct answer. Search for the incorrect answer and eliminate everything. Once you eliminate everything, ඔයා eliminate කරාට පස්සේ දෙකක් හෝ එකක් ඉතුරු වෙයි. අන්න ඒකෙන් හරිය උත්තරේ තෝරන්න. පැහැදිලිද? Right. එතකොට පළවෙනි question එක මේකේ අහනවා to record all the transactions of the entity in the books of accounts. නෑ පුතා, record all the transactions in the books of account. That is one of the functions in accounting, recording, and at the same time recording is the main objective of the bookkeeping. That is not the objective of accounting. පළවෙනි එක අයින් කරන්න පුළුවන්. Recording, categorizing, summarizing are also the functions in accounting. ඒකත් අයින් කරන්න පුළුවන්. Analyze the information, that is also you can eliminate. Provide the detailed analysis of the transactions of the entity to the managers. Puta, accounting provide the information to the entire stakeholder, right? They are just talks about only the managers, right? The providing information for the managers is objective of the management accounting, but here they are asking the objective in accounting, which include financial accounting and the management accounting. එතකොට බලන්න, you have eliminated the first 4 answers. And then last one, provide the information about the entity to its users for making the decisions. And which one has to be the correct answer? 5th one. පළවෙනි පස්වෙනි එක හෙව්වේ නෑ. ඉතුරු වෙච්ච answer එක තමයි ඔයාගේ answer එක උනේ නේ. එහෙනම් when you are doing this type of a question, always do not search for the correct answer, and basically you search for the incorrect answer and eliminate them. From the remainder you can get the correct one. Right here, for the question number 1, answer is answer number 5. Right. Second one, which the following transaction is recorded in the purchases journal? Puda, what do we record in the purchases journal? What do we record in the purchases journal? In the purchases journal, what you record is credit purchases, right? Not the cash purchases, but the credit purchases, right? Now what does say? All the purchases on credit basis. So the all assets purchases on credit basis, even the purchase of non-current assets on credit basis, they meet, right? Habai, here what you record is a credit purchase. මොනවද පුතා purchases කියලා කියන්නේ? Purchases are the item what you purchase with the intentions of reselling in normal business activity or the ordinary business activity, right? Therefore first one you can eliminate. All the purchases කියලා කිව්වහම පුතා with the intentions of resell, that includes the cash purchases. Cash purchases you record in the payment journal, not here. Second one also you can eliminate. Third one, all credit purchases made with the intentions of resell. It sounds like correct. හැබැයි අපි ඒක පොඩ්ඩක් තියාගන්නවා. All the credit purchases made the purchase with the intentions of resell. අපි කියවනේ හරි උත්තරේ තෝරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක තියාගන්න pool එකේ. පළවෙනි දෙක අයින් කරා, තුන්වෙනි එක තියාගත්තා. All purchases made with the intentions of resell on credit. Resell on credit. නෑ. ඒකත් අපේ answer එක නෙමෙයි. All PPE purchase on credit. ඒක කොහෙද record කරන්නේ? When you purchase a PPE on credit basis, where do you record? In the general journal. එහෙනම් පුතා ඔක්කොම අයින් කරන්න පුළුවන් except the third one. එහෙනම් which one is the correct answer? Third one. Keep it in your mind. In the purchases journal, what do you record? All the credit purchases. Right. Look at the next one. A firm sold 500,000 on credit basis. Customer has returned. There was a credit sales. Right. What was the transaction? First, there was a credit sales. Identify the transaction. And then thereafter, customer has returned 50,000 of it. So then there was a sales return. There's a credit sales return. And later customer paid the balance amount. That means from our business point of view, there was a cash collection from debtor. It's a cash receipts. It's a cash receipts. Right. You know, what are the transactions from the business point of view? Credit sales, sales return, and the cash collection from debtors. Right. What they are asking, the source document. What is the source document for the credit sales? That is invoice. ඔයාගේ paper එකේ තමයි source document වලට අදාළ question එකක් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අහනවානේ. අපි දැන් මෙතනින් යාට දිගටම past papers discuss කරනවා whenever we have the time, right? So you can see, so then there will be some question from this particular area. Therefore, ensure for every source doc, every file entry books, you identify the respective source document. Transaction again, transaction with source documents අඳුර ගන්න බෑ. හැබැයි journal එකෙන් journal එකට source document එක අඳුර ගන්න. Transaction එකත් record වෙන්නේ මොන journal එකේද කියලා බලන්න. ඒකට දාලා source document එක අඳුර ගන්න. Sales return, it's a credit sales return. It will be recorded in the sales return journal. Source document is the credit note. Last one, cash receipts. Source document is what? Cash receipts. And now what are the source documents for that? Invoice, credit note, and the cash receipts. Right? Invoice, credit note, and the cash receipts. So accordingly, which one is the correct answer? Yeah, the fifth one is the correct answer. But මොනාරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න. Sixth one is the correct answer. Right. Sorry. Invoice fifth one, ne? Right. Fifth one is the correct answer. මම ආයි පොඩ්ඩක් summarize කරන්නම්. For the first one, it has to be the answer number 5. For the second one, it has to be the answer number 3. For the third one, it has to be the answer number 5. Hurry. ඊළඟට කියලා, what is the correct sequence in which the following activities take place in the financial accounting process? පුතා, entries made in the prime entry books. හරි, අපි ඒක A කියලා ගමු. Source documents are prepared. But the source document you prepare before recording the transaction in the prime entry books. Business transaction take place. That business transaction would take place even before raising the source document. Trial balance is prepared. Ek financial accounting process ke letter part take even there. Posted the transaction to the source document that you prepare, that you do before preparing the trial balance. Now, what is the correct order? CBAED. CBAED. Second one seems to be the correct answer. What is his order? C. Business transaction take place. B. Raising the source documents. A. Recording the prime entry books, post to the ledger, and preparations of the trial balance. Right? Which one is the correct answer? CBAED. Second one is the correct answer. Right. What are the two underlying assumptions of financial statement according to the conceptual framework? පුතා, ඉස්සර conceptual framework එක මේ 2012 වෙද්දී assumptions දෙකක් අපි කතා කරා. There were two underlying assumptions. One is a going concern, other one is the accrual concept or the accrual basis. But keep it in now, right? Keep it in your mind. Now there is only one assumption. What that is? Going concern assumption. එතන පොඩි note එකක් දාගන්න. දැන් මේකට අනුව නම් මේ answer number 4 is the correct answer, right? හැබැයි දැන් accrual basis අපි assumption එකක් විදිහට use කරන්නේ. Now there is only one assumption, that is a going concern, right? Have a note there. Have a note there. Only the going concern assumption. Only the going concern assumption will be considered as an underlying assumption. As an underlying assumption in accounting. As an underlying assumption in accounting. As per the conceptual frameworks. As per the conceptual framework. Right. එනපුතා there is only one assumption. What that is? Going concern. දැන් accrual basis අපි assumption එකක් විදිහට consider කරන්නේ නැහැ. මතක තියාගන්න. Right. ඒතර මේ question එක වෙනස් වෙන්න ඕනේ. දැන් අහනවා නම් මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ අහන්න ඕනේ, what is the main assumptions when preparing the financial statement, that is a going concern. Hari. Appo ena ilaga question ekata. Which of the following accounting concepts best describe the recognitions of the cost of sold as an expense with a part of the purchases you recognize as expense, part of the purchases. Mokadda expense ekේ nama? Cost of sales. Part of the expense you recognize as an asset. Mokadda expense asset ekේ nama? Closing stock. Mokadda concept එක? Matching concepts. පුතා closing stock එක adjust කරන්න හේතුව මොකක්ද කියන්න? Matching concepts. Closing stock depreciations all you adjust due to what concepts? Matching concepts. Matching. To match the income with the expenses only, you adjust the closing stock. Matching concept. Which one is the correct answer? Third one is the correct answer. Right. Question number 7. The company bought a land 10 years ago and its fair value 5 times the purchase price. Again, cost එක වඩා 5 times the purchase revalued amount එක. එහෙම නැත්නම් market value එක. If the land is revalued at its fair value, which qualitative characteristics of accounting information does it reflect? Puta, what accounting concepts is violated? Historical cost concept is violated. Habai puta, when you are revaluing the assets and record the current market value, that ensures or that inline the relevance. They are providing what information? Relevance information. Otherwise, you are providing some outdated information. So, information will be relevant when they provide what? The up-to-date information. And which one is the correct answer? Second one is the correct answer. Is a correct answer. Right. What next? Question number 9. An entity paid 8,000 for maintaining the machine. The effect of this transaction shown in the basic accounting equation. Puta, when you incur maintenance expenses of an assets, it need to be recognized as an expenditure. එතකොට තමයි expense එකක් record කරන විදිය වෙන විදියකින් අහන්නේ. How are you going to record it in the basic accounting equation? Maintenance expense, assets decreases, equity decrease by how much? 8,000. Assets decrease by 8,000, equity decrease by 8,000. Right? Enang decrease in assets, decrease in equity. මොකක්ද? Third one is the correct answer නේ. පළවෙනි එක ගන්න බෑ, ඒක liabilities. දෙවෙනි එක liability. තුන්වෙනි එක ගන්න පුළුවන්, හතර ගන්න බෑ. equity increase වෙන්නේ නෑ equity එක. පස්වෙනි එක ගන්නත් බෑ. එහෙනම් third one is the correct answer. Right. What next? The balance of the capital account of a sole trader was increased by 500,000 during the year. පුතා equity increase වෙන්නේ හේතු හතරකින්. Additional capital equity වෙනස් වෙන්නේ හේතු හතරකින්. හැබැයි equity එක වැඩි වෙන්නේ හේතු දෙකයි තියෙන්නේ. What are the two reasons to increase the equity balance? Puta, equity would increase either due to the additional capital and the profit. ඔය දෙකනේ. එහෙම නැත්නම් income. එහෙම නැත්නම් gain. Those are the only two reasons to increase the equity. පළවෙනි එක business earn a profit. equity එක වැඩි වෙනවා. Owner introduce additional capital, equity වැඩි වෙනවා. Owner bought one of his motor vehicle. Again, equity balance increases. Owner paid his private debts 500,000 from the business bank account. When business make owner's payment, how are you supposed to consider that as a drawing? So the transaction number 4 represented drawings decreases owner's equity. හැබැයි ආන්සර් එක සිලෙක්ට් කරන්න නැහැ අපි කිව්වා. ඊළඟ එකත් බලලා ඉන්න. 500,000 due to supplier of the business was paid out of the business owner's private bank account. Make additional capital. Separate entity concept says if owner make the business payment, consider that as the additional capital. එතකොට this is the additional capital, it increases owner's equity. And which one is the correct answer? පුතා fourth one does not increase owner's equity. right? Fourth one, right? අපි යනවා ඊළඟ question එකට. Question number 10. Entity carries out all its cash transaction through the bank account. Its monthly bank statement shows a credit balance of 270. According to the bank statement, credit balance means favorable or unfavorable. Favorable balance. On this day, checks deposited but not realized and unpresented checks 85,000 and 45,000 respectively. The balance in the bank account as at 31st Jan 2012. Hari. අපි bank reconciliation question එකක් අහනවා. ඔයා දන්නවා පුතා මෙයා අපිට දීලා තියෙනවා bank statement balance. They are giving you bank statement balance. How much the bank statement balance? Rupees 270,000, but keep it in your mind, this is a favorable balance and this is not an unfavorable balance, right? They want you to identify the bank state cash control account balance. Then මෙතන අපිට adjust කරන්න timing differences නේ. There are only two reasons. Both are timing differences. පළවෙනි එක on this day checks deposited not realized 85. පුතා realize වෙලා නැත්නම් මේකේ record වෙලා නැහැ නේ. මේ bank statement balance එක. This is from the cash control account balance. If it is not realized, that means it is not included here. But it is included in the cash control account. Then what you should do? To convert the bank statement balance into the cash control account, unrealized checks you must add how much? Rupees 85,000. 85,000. Unpresented checks. දැන් ඔයා MCQ එකකදී ඔයා ensure කරගන්න එක adjustment එකක් හරියට කරා නම් ඒක අනිත් පැත්තනේ. දැන් if you correctly දැන් මේ මම අපි theory class වල කතා කරන විදිහ ඊට වඩා සම්පූර්ණයෙන් වෙනස්. නමුත් මේ paper එකක timing වලට අපි කරද්දී අපි කොහොමද මේක manage කරගන්නේ? ඉතින් ඔයා එකක් හරියට අඳුරගත්තොත් unrealized checks අඩු add කරා නම් unpresented checks අපි අඩු කරනවා. right? ඉතින් ඒක ඔලුවට ගන්න that is how much? 45,000. එහෙම නැත්නම් පුතා unpresented checks මේකෙන් pay කරලා නැහැ තාම. pay කරලා නැහැ කියලා කියන්නේ මේකේ balance එක වැඩි. එහෙනම් අඩු කරන්න. There are 40,000 when you add 85 you need to add 45 you need to deduct. That means net effect 40 you add. Then how much is the cash control account balance? That is 310,000. Fourth one is the correct answer. 310,000. Clear? Right. ඒවල වෙනස් උත්තර තියෙනවා නම් මට කියන්න. right. පළවෙනි ප්‍රශ්න 10 මොනවාද issues? හරි. question number 11. The following errors were revealed after preparing the drafted financial statements of a business. They are giving you 3 errors. Due to the errors, the profit of the entity understated by how much? Profit of the business understated by how much? Right. Okay. The profit කියලා කියන්නේ difference between what and what? Income and expenses. Right. Income and the expenses. එතකොට if any of these transactions affected to an income or an expense only, that affect to the profit. පළවෙනි එක. Cash received 18,500 from a debtor has been recorded 15,800 in the debtor account. Where the error? It's in the debtor account, not in an income or an expense account. Income expenses account වල නෙමෙයි error එක තියෙන්නේ. එහෙනම් ඒක profit එකට impact එක නෑ. Credit sales 25 has been recorded in the sales account as 2,500. Right. Difference is how much? 22,500. Difference is how much? 22,500. ඒ කියන්නේ 22,500 වලින් sales understate වෙලා කියලා කියන්නේ definitely profit understated by how much? 22,500. ඊළඟ එක sales return 3,000 has been debited to the sales account. මොකට debit උනත් debit වෙලානේ expense එකක් විදියට sales එකට debit වෙනත් එකයි sales return account එකට debit උනත් එකයි. Anyhow they recognize that as an expense. එහෙනම් පුතා ඒකත් profit එකට impact එකක් නෑනේ. එතකොට මේ transactions දෙකම නිසා තුනම නිසා profit just decreased by how much? 22,500. එහෙනම් which one is the correct answer? Second one is the correct answer. Right. හරි නේද? The first one has no impact. Second one also has no impact. හරි. Question number 12. The company has provided the following information as at 31st March 2012 for 3 items of inventory. They want you to calculate the value of the inventory under the item by item basis. We have to use the item by item basis in calculating the value of the inventory. What are you going to do here? A. Cost of A 13,000. Net realizable value, expected selling price minus expected cost, that is 10,000. And here the net realizable value rupees 10,000. The cost is 13, net realizable is 10. So the lower value is 10. B. Cost is 10,000. Net realizable value is 12,000. What is lower? What is lower? 10,000. That is cost. Next one. Cost is 17,000. Net realizable value is 12,000. So which one is lower? 12,000. Then it is 32,000. 32,000. First one is the correct answer. First one is the correct answer. Right. In item by item basis, what we do, we consider each and every item separately and find the lower value. Hurry. 13 and 14. Use the following information of an entity to answer the question number 13 and 14. Salaries they have given, you paid 44,000. There was a payable amount beginning and end of the year. Rent for the premises rent on 1st October 2011, received 90,000 for the period of 9 months ending 30th June 2012. What are the amount to be reported as a salary and the rent income in the income statement? Right. Okay. Accrual basis says not the amount you pay but the amount relevant for the period gonna recognize as an expenditure. Correct. Api gattot puta salaries. When you take the salaries, how much the salaries that you paid in cash? Salary pay karla tiyena kiyakda 44,000. How much the salaries that you paid? 44. Oya 44 wali 4,000 ගෙවලා තියෙන්නේ previous year එකට. හරි නේද මං? දැන් මේ ledger account කරාම මේවා මුකුත් නැතුව ඔළුවෙන් ගාන හදන්න. කැල් එකෙන් ගාන හදන්න. 44 ගත්තා. නේද? ඊළඟට 4,000 you paid for the previous year because there was a payable amount for the previous year, no? 40,000. මේ මොකද්ද මේ 40? Rent paid during the year and relevant for the current year. ඊළඟට මේ අවුරුද්ද තව ගෙවලා නැහැ කීයක්ද? 24,000. මේ තියෙන ගෙවපු ගාන ගෙවපු නැති 24 තියෙනවා. that all together is it 64,000. එහෙනම් salary is how much? rupees 64,000. Rent income. පුතේ rent income එක when you take the rent income එක 90,000 ගෙවලා තියෙනවා මාස 9කට. එහෙනම් monthly rent එක හම්බ වෙලා තියෙනවා මාස 9කට. එහෙනම් monthly rent එක 10,000. හරිද? ඔයාගේ accounting period එක from 1st April 2011 to 31st March 2012. ඔයා 1st October 2011 තමයි මේ agreement එකට එන්නේ. So from this date to this date it is how many months? 6 months. එතකොට පුතා we are entitled to receive the rent income for this year only for 6 months. And 6 month rent income will be 10,000 into 6. That is how much? 60,000. And what is the answer? 64,000 and 60,000. Fourth one is the correct answer. Fourth one is the correct answer. Are any other? Right. Do the corrections if you need. What is the total liability to be recognized in the balance sheet? Hare. Puta, liability. When it's come to the liability, salary payable එකක් තියෙනවා 24,000. There's a salary payable 24,000. Income received in advance තියෙනවා 30,000. income received in advance තියෙනවා 30. ඇයි ඒ මාස 9කට මාට හම්බුණානේ. හැබැයි මාස 6යි relevant amount එක. So balance amount is what? For the next 3 years. So then it's a current liability. එහෙනම් total liability is 54,000. Again, the fourth one is the correct answer. Fourth one. Clear? Right, do the corrections. Tangala karaganna. What next? Partnerships. Then ඔයාගේ paper එකේ ඔය ටිකක් time consuming questions කියලා තියෙනවනේ. ඒවා එකක් තමයි partnerships. අනිත් එක total comprehensive income, other comprehensive income questions ඊළඟට not for profit organizations. අනිත් එක accounting standards. ඒකට තමයි ලොකු වෙලාවක් යන්නේ. අනිත් ඒවාට ලොකු වෙලාවක් යන්නේ නැහැ. ගණන් හදලාම පුරුදු වෙන්න. Practice is very important. පැහැදිලිද? ensure කරගන්න 2012 ඉඳන් 2024 වෙනකම් pass papers on time ඔයාට කරන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් මේ 2012 paper එක පැයෙන් එකමාරෙන් කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ ඔයාට. මොකද මේ questions කීප සැරයක් කරපු ඒවා තියෙන්නේ ඕගොල්ලෝ. හරිද? ඉතින් ඔයා පැයකින් එකමාරකින් මේක ඉවර කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නම ඕනේ ඒකකට යන කෙනෙක්ට. හරිද? ඕකේ. බලන්න. දැන් මේ වගේ question එකක මම ඔයාලට දෙන්නම් පොඩි advice එකක්. මේ question එකේ පුතා මේ ලොකු case study එකක් වගේ ගොඩක් information දෙනවනේ. ඒ information ටික summarize කරගන්න. හරිද? මෙන්න මේ වගේ. දැන් මේක කියනවා Amila and Kapila entered into the partnership agreement. මේ බලන්න. On 1st April 2011. හරි. කවුරුද ආවේ? Amila and Kapila. 1st April 2011. They are entitled to annual salary of 100,000. Hurry. Their annual salary 100,000 for each partner. Okay. 10% interest. Interest on capital 10% for both the partners. Hurry. Profit share. Profit share in ratio 3:2. දැන් මට ආපහු question එක බලන්න දෙයක් නැහැ නේ. ඊළඟට කියනවා respectively Amila and Kapila contributed their capital 400 and 200,000. Capital 400,000 and 200,000 in cash. During the year, business earned a net profit of 360. Hurry. Profit for the period, how much? Rupees 360,000. Now, current account balances of the partners. Hurry. Okay. Current account balances අපි calculate කරොත් Amila and Kapila මේගොල්ලන්ගේ just started business එකක් නිසා opening balances නැහැනේ. හැබැයි they get the salary how much? 100,000. They get the salary rupees 100,000. Interest on capital is 10%. That is 40,000 and 20,000. එතකොට පුතා profit share එක අපි කොහොමද හොයන්නේ? බලන්නකෝ profit share එක අපි හොයද්දි පුතා interest on capital කියලා අපි partners කට දීලා තියෙනවා 60,000. salary කියලා දීලා තියෙනවා 200,000. එහෙනම් super profit 100,000 මේක බෙදන්න ඕනේ 3:2. ඒ කියන්නේ 60,000 and 40,000. profit share 60 and 40. එහෙනම් මේගොල්ලන්ගේ current account balance 200 and 160,000. 200,000 and 160,000. Third one is the correct answer. Very simple question. Right. හරි. ඊළඟට අපෙන් අහනවා what would be the equity balance? පුතා end of the year equity balance very clearly we can calculate no what equity balance equal capital balances plus current account balances. Capital balances end of the year බලන්න මගේ මම ආපහු question එක බලන්න ඕනේ නෑ. I don't read the question again and again. Capital account balances 600,000, current account balances 360,000 and then total equity 960. Equity 960. මේ දෙන්නම විද්‍රෝ කරලා තියෙනවා නම් අහනවානේ have withdrawn 50,000 each. පුතේ මේ දෙන්නම 50,000 withdraw කරනවා නම් current account එකේ balance එක 260 නේ. ඇයි ඒ? මෙතන 360 වලින් දෙන්නම 100,000 withdraw කරලා නම් it has to be 260. එහෙනම් equity balance will be how much? 860,000. නේද? 860. Fifth one is the correct answer. Fifth one is the correct answer. Right. ඉවර කරගන්න ටක් දාලා. මේ අතර ඔයගලන්ට ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න. ඕනම ජාතික ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහන්න. We can provide the answer for those. Right? හරි. අපි යනවා ඊළඟ එකට. Question number 17. දැන් මේ past paper discussion එකේ speed එකට හුරු වෙන්න past papers කරගෙන join වෙන්න right ඊළඟ discussions වලදී MCQs අපි ඔක්කොම කතා කරනවා 2012 ඉඳන් ඒ හැම එකකම questions හදලා එන්න. එතකොට ඔයාලට මේක ඉස්සරහට යන්න පුළුවන් ඉක්මනට අපිත් එක්කම. right Amal, Bimal and Chamal, the partners, okay, A, B, C are the partners who share the profit and losses. All profit sharing ratio 2:1. Chamal retired from the partnership. Retired Chamal from the partnership. More the accounting period is 1st April 2011 to 31st March 2012. The Chamal retired in the last date. Amal and Bimal agreed to continue the partnership 3:2. Right. New profit sharing ratio 3:2. On the date, goodwill of the business was estimated 400,000. Hari, goodwill you estimated as rupees 400,000. It was adjusted to the partner's capital account. What is the net impact of the goodwill adjustments on the capital accounts of Amal and Bimal? Right. පුතා දැන් අපි ගත්තොත් බොහොම මේ ගණන් හදන්න නැතුවම මේකට උත්තරේ හොයන්න පුළුවන් නේ. මට කියන්න බිමල්ගේ profit share එක කලින් කීයද? It's 2/5. Now even after the retirement 2/5. So then B is Bimal's profit sharing ratio effectively has not been changed. ඒක වෙනස් වෙලා නැහැ. එහෙනම් එයාගේ equity එකට impact එකක් නැහැ. එතකොට equity එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන් effect එන්නේ කාටද? Only for the Amal. නේ? Right. එතකොට amount එකත් මෙතන බලන්න එපා. Right. amount එක බලන්න. දැන් මෙයාගේ account එකට debit වෙන්නේ කීයද පුතා? අපි මං මොලේ ඉඳන්ම හදන්නම්කො මේකේ goodwill එක record කරලා ඉන්නම්කො. When there was a retirement of a partner, how are you supposed to adjust the goodwill? Total amount of goodwill should be credited to the partner's capital account using their old profit sharing ratio, and same need to be debited to the partner's capital account using the new profit sharing ratio. එතකොට බලන්න, all the goodwill is 4,400,000. All profit sharing ratio එකට divide කරාම 400 divide by 580 නේ. එතකොට 160 160 and 80 මෙයාගෙන් අහන්නේ නෑ. ඊළඟට new profit sharing ratio එකට debit කරන්න ඕනේ. That is how much? 3:2. 400 divide by 5. Right? එතකොට 80 into 3 240 and 160. එතකොට බලන්න මේක debit වෙනවා. Right? පුතේ අමල් මේ අමිලගේ equity එක 80,000 වලින් අඩු වෙනවා. අර අපි කලින් කතා කරා වගේ බිමල්ට impact එකක් නැහැ. එහෙනම් Amal decreased by 80,000. Amal decreased by 80,000. Bimal has no impact. Which one is the correct answer? Second one. මතක තියාගන්න when there was a retirement of goodwill, there is only one way to adjust the goodwill. When there was a retirement of a partner, there is only one way to adjust the goodwill. That is, total amount of goodwill should be credited to the partner's capital account using the old profit sharing ratio. Same need to be debited to the partner's capital account using the new profit sharing ratio. Right. Second one is the correct answer. Okay. අපි යනවා question number 18. Right. ඉවර කරගන්න. Do the workings. Amara PLC had issued 500,000 shares and stated ordinary share capital showed a balance of 10 million. The company capitalized retained earnings by issuing one share for every 5 shares held at 1st July 2011 at a price of 20. Further, there was a right issue, one share for every 6 shares and at a price of 15. All the rights were exercised. What is the increase or decrease in the equity during the year? What is the increase or decrease in the equity of the company as at 31st March 2022 due to these transactions? What were the transactions? There was a share issue. Value is 100,000, 500,000. Company had in issue 500,000 shares. Hari. The share issue එකක් වෙලා නැහැ මෙතන. When we get the opening balance, number of shares and the value. අපි ඔය විදිහට ගමු. opening balance එකේ කොච්චර shares in issue තියනවද? 500,000 තියෙනවා. ඒකේ value එක කීයද? 10 million. එතකොට 20 rupees නේ share එකක value එක නේද? හරි. ඒක අපිට ඕන වේද නැද්ද දන්නේ නැහැ. ඊළඟට කියනවා on 1st July the company capitalized retained earnings by issuing one for every 5 shares held on 1st July 2017. පුතා 1st July 2017 වල මේ shares පහකට එකක් capitalize කරනවා. එහෙනම් how much the value of the capitalization? 500,000 divide by 5. 500,000 when you divide by 5 you got 100,000 නේ. හරිනේ. අයි බලන්න දෙයක් නැහනේ. right issue එක. ඒකේ value එක කීයද? දෙන්නේ 20 ගානේ. එහෙනම් 200,000 then it is 2 million. හරි නේද? 2 million. ඊළඟට ඔයා right issue එකක් කරනවලු. හැබැයි right issue එක කරන්නේ 1st Jan 2012 වලට තිබ්බ shares වලටලු. ඒ කියන්නේ අර right මේ capitalization එකෙන් වැඩි වෙච්ච shares වලට ඔයා capitalization එකෙන් වැඩි වෙච්ච shares වලට ඔයා right issue rights දෙන්නේ නැහැ. එහෙනම් එහෙම නේද කියන්නේ? නෑ 1st Jan 2012 නේ. 1st Jan 2012. එතකොට පුතා මේකත් කන්සිඩර් කරනවා නේ. මේකත් කන්සිඩර් කරනවා. එතකොට ඒ 600,000 වලට ඔයා අයක් දෙනවා කියලා කියන්නේ then again 600,000. Again you are giving 100,000. तर 100,000 අපි දෙන්නේ 15 ගානේ මේ all the rights exercise කියනවානේ. එහෙනම් it is 1,500,000. හරි. මේකේ value එක 1,500,000. අපි right issue එක කරද්දී capitalization එකකින් වැඩි වෙච්ච ගානක් consider කරන්න කියලා කියනවා. මොකද මේකේ right issue එක කරන්නේ කවද්ද? කවද තියෙන ඒවටද? 1st Jan 2012 තියෙන ඒවටනේ. හරි. එහෙනම් පුතා මේකේ අහන්නේ වාගේ by how much equity balance increase or decrease. එතකොට right issue එකයි capitalization එකයි දෙකම නිසා equity එක වැඩි වෙනවා. වැඩි වෙන ගාන කීයද? Is that 350? Due to the capitalization 2 million, due to the capitalizations 2 million, and due to the right issue 1,500,000. Plus the question number 18, answer is answer number 5. Answer number 5. ඒක මොකක් හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් වුණාද? මෙතන අහන්නේ විනාඩි එකක් ගන්න. All right. මෙතන අහන්නේ what is the increase or decrease in the equity? පුතේ capitalization එක නිසා what is the double entry for the capitalization? What is the double entry for the equity? Stated capital නෙමෙයි. Sorry. They are asking the equity. What is the double entry for the capitalizations පුතා? What is the double entry for the capitalizations? Retained earnings debit and stated capital credit. එතකොට both of these two, stated capital and the retained earnings are elements of equity. එතකොට මෙතෙන්දී මෙන්න මේක equity වලට impact එකක් නැහැ. ඇයි එක equity element එකකින් අඩු වෙලා තව equity element එකකට add වෙනවා. End of the day equity has no impact. Stated capital will increase but not the equity. එහෙනම් පුතා equity would be increased. Equity would be increased only by 1,500,000. Another only by 1,500,000. Which one is the correct answer? Third one is the correct answer. Third one is the correct answer. But equity stated capital name. Stated capital it will be how much? 3,500,000. Right. Okay. Next one. Which of the following ratios used to measure the financial stability and liquidity? පුතා මේ financial stability කියලා කියන්නේ gearing ratio. මේ අහන්නේ. Gearing. And the other one is what? Liquidity. Liquidity. එතකොට debt to equity ratio is what ratio? Debt to equity ratio is a gearing ratio. ඊළඟට current ratio is a liquidity ratio. එතකොට මේක හරිනේ. හැබැයි ඊළඟට quick asset ratio කියලා කියන්නේ මොන ratio එකක්ද? Liquidity ratio එකක්. Debtors turnover ratio is also liquidity ratio. හැබැයි ඒක වාගේ syllabus එකේ ගන්න efficiency ratio එකක් විදියට. එතකොට ඒක එන්නේ නැහැ. ඊළඟ එකක් gearing ratio, අනිත් එක efficiency ratio. ඒක එන්නේත් නැහැ. Return on total assets profitability ratio and the current ratio. ඒක එන්නේත් නැහැ. ඊළඟ එක පස්වෙනි එක debt ratio and the total assets turnover ratio. ඒක එන්නේ නැහැ. Total assets turnover ratio දැන් වාගේ syllabus එකේ නැහැ. හරි නේද? එතකොට which one is the correct answer? First one is the correct answer. First one is the correct answer. Right. ඊළඟ එක බලන්න. When a debtor balance settle his dues, what is the impact on the current ratio and the quick asset ratios of a company? Right. පුතා මේ debtors ලා අපි તો මේ විදියට ගමු. ඔයාලට මේක තේරෙන විදියට. How to calculate the current ratio? Current assets is to current liability. එතකොට debtor කෙනෙක් the debtor settle his dues. debtor කෙනෙක් settle කරාම dues, current assets cash වැඩි වෙනවා. අනිත් පැත්තෙන් debtor කියන current asset එක අඩු වෙනවා. End of the day current assets has no impact. එහෙනම් current ratio has no impact. හරිනේ. ඊළඟට how do you calculate the quick assets? Quick assets is to current liability. පුතා quick assets කියද්දී අපි ගන්නෙ නෑ prepaid expenses and the stock. These are the two current assets that you exclude when calculating the quick assets. අපි ඔකතුනේ debtors ලා නෑ. එතකොට debtors ලා debtor සල්ලි ගෙවද්දී cash වැඩි වෙනවා, debtors ලාත් අඩු වෙනවා. End of the day quick asset has no impact. End of the day quick asset has no impact. The quick asset has no impact නම් quick asset ratio also has no impact. එහෙනම් මේ දෙකෙන්ම වෙන්නේ පුතා. For the question number 20, no change. Fifth one is the correct answer. No change. Hurry. Hurry. Can I move on to the next? If no questions, we can move into the next. Question number 21. The following information is available for a company. They wanted to calculate the total cash collection from debtors. Hurry, make it up with trade receivable control account. We'll prepare trade receivable control account. පුතා අපි බලා ගන්න ඔයාගේ timing කොහොමද හදාගන්නේ කියලා questions කරන ගම. හරිද? credit sale එකක් තියෙනවා. credit sales අපි debtors control account එකට debit කරනවා 780. ඊළඟට discount allowed to the debtors, it has to be credited, that is 65. Impairment losses or the bad debts also you need to credit 20. Sales return also you need to credit 35. The decrease in the debtors, if the opening debtor balance 80, closing debtor balance 0. your debtor balance decreased by 80. එහෙනම් opening debtor balance is 80. හරි නේද? closing debtor balance is 0. එහෙනම් 860, 100, 120, 740. That's 7. Make a closing debtor balance එකක් නෑ. No closing debtor balance. Why? Because the debtor balance has increased by 80. Or if the opening debtor balance is 80, closing debtor balance is 0. Right? And how much is the cash collection from debtor? 120, 740. 740. Which one is the correct answer? Fifth one is the correct answer. Corrections කරගන්න. එතකොට debtor balance increase වුණා නම් debtor balance increase වුණා කිව්වා නම් if this is 0, this is 80. හරි නේද? Right. Look at the next one. Look at the next one. Question number 22. Which of the following would disclose in the contingent liability? With a bank loan obtained from the financial institution, it's a liability, no? It's a liability, non-current liability. Unsold lawsuit against the company. Oh, method would be. මේක පුතා මෙතන තියෙන අපිට unsold lawsuit එකක තියෙන්නේ අපිට present obligation එකක්ද possible obligation එකක්ද? possible obligation එකක්. අපි මේක remote නෑ කියලා හිතනවා. එහෙනම් අපිට මේකට contingent liability එකක් disclose කරන්න පුළුවන්. The agreement to act as a guarantor for a loan obtained. ඔව් මෙතනත් අපිට තියෙන්නේ possible obligation එකක්. මොකද අපි guarantor කෙනෙක් විදිහට එන්නේ loan was obtained by another party. They will make the payment. Till they make the payment, we have no present obligation. So then in that case, we have a possible obligation. Yes, you can have a disclosure. Overdrawn balance is a liability. Overdrawn balance is a current liability. And which one is the correct answer? B and C. Third one is the correct answer. Third one is the correct answer. Arida? Right. Okay. There was a question asking. We'll see. And moving into the next tuta. Question number 23. Madura PLC financial statements for the year ended 31st March 2012 were authorized by the directors on 30th May 2012. Right. එතකොට පුතා, what is your financial year? 1st April 2011 to 31st March 2012. ඒක authorize කරන්නේ කවද්ද directors ලා? 30th September 2012. What is the above events that should be adjusted events? පුතා දැන් එතකොට මේ events ගැන ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ, dates ගැන ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. මොකද මේ authorization date එකයි end of the balance sheet date එකයි අතර තමයි ඔය ටික කොහොමද දීලා තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් අපිට date එක ගැන consider කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. අපිට බලන්න ඕනේ මේවා adjusting the මොනවාද adjusting events? Adjusting events are the events that provide further evidence about the condition exists on the balance sheet date. එතකොට අපි බලන්න ඕනේ balance sheet date එක දවසේ තියෙන conditions වලට අපි further evidence දෙනවද? හැබැයි non-adjusting events are the events what? Non-adjusting events කියලා කියන්නේ මොනවාද? Those are the indicatives of the conditions that arose after the reporting period. Those are the indicatives of the conditions that arose after the reporting period. එතකොට බලමු පළවෙනි එක. Announcements of a plan to discontinue its operation of a business unit which was incurred losses continuously. Put that discontinue operation, do we adjust it? No. මොකද balance sheet එක හදලා දාල්ස වෙනකොට මේක operations වල තිබ්බා. balance sheet date එකෙන් පස්සේ discontinue කරන්න decide කරා. ඒතකොට මේක adjusting event එකක් නෙමෙයි. Bankruptcy of a debtor who owe a substantial amount after the balance sheet date. මතකද අපි කිව්වා? අපි L case 10 වලදී කිව්වා bankruptcy of a debtor usually confirm that the loss exists on the balance sheet date. bankruptcy එකකදී අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් හිතනවා loss එක balance sheet date එක දවසේ තිබ්බා කියලා. එන එක adjusting event එකක්. Declining the market value. පුතා market value එක අඩු වුණාම අපි adjust කරනවද නැහැ? මොකද balance sheet එක හදන දවස වෙනකොට market value එක cost එකට වඩා වැඩි. market value එක අඩු වුණේ පස්සේ වෙච්ච එක those are the indicators of the conditions arose after the reporting period, right? එහෙනම් ඒක non adjusting event එකක්. decisions of the court case that confirm the recognitions of the liability as of the balance sheet. court case එක පුතා balance sheet date එක දවසේ තිබිලා තියෙනවා. හැබැයි ඒක හරියටම confirm උනේ before the financial statements authorized by the board of directors. එහෙනම් A and D, sorry, B and D, which is the second one, is the correct answer. Second one is the correct answer. Neither. Yes, second one is the correct answer. Right. අපි යනවා ඊළඟ එකට. How would the results in the changes in the amount of depreciation should be recorded in the financial statement when the expected useful lifetime of the building is revised? Puta, when the useful lifetime is revised, it is a changes in accounting estimation. Changes in useful lifetime is a changes in accounting estimation. මට කියන්න changes in accounting estimation should be adjusted how? Prospectively or retrospectively? Prospectively. What do you mean by the prospective adjustments? Making the adjustment for the present year, and if it is affected to the future years, do the adjustment for the future years. And we do not make any adjustment for the past. හරි නේද? Okay. බලන්න පළවෙනි එක. මේක changes in accounting estimation එකක්. පළවෙනි එක. Consider it as a changes in accounting estimations. හරි. Adjust the profit and loss on the current and the future period. ඒක හරියටම හරි වගේ. හැබැයි අපි අනිත් ඒවාත් බලනවා. අපි කියවනේ හරි උත්තරේ තෝරන්නේ නැහැ. වැරදි උත්තර අයින් කරනවා. පළවෙනි එක අයින් කරන්න බෑ තියාගත්තා. Consider changes in accounting estimation. Revising the opening balance means what? Prospective adjustments. We don't do the retrospective adjustments when there was the changes in the useful lifetime. Accounting estimation. එක වැරදි. Consider as an error. නෑ. None of these are error. මේක error එකක් නෙමෙයි අයින් කරන්න. Consider the changes in policy change එකකුත් නෙමෙයි. එහෙනම් which one is the correct answer? First one is the correct answer. 25. Question number 25. Company purchased land on 1st March 2010 at a cost of 130,000. Hurry. 31st March 2010. You purchase a land for how much? 1,300,000. The land was revalued on 31st March 2011 for how much? That is 1,100,000. And now here there is a gain of how much? 200,000. It was revalued again at a fair value of 1,600,000. මෙතන තියෙන gain එක නෙමෙයි loss එකක්. There was a loss of 200,000. Or the 1.3 million you are revaluing for 1,100,000. ඊළඟට 31st March 2012, you revalue the same land again at a value of 1,600,000. There you get a gain of 500,000. The පළවෙනි පාර තියෙනවා revaluation loss එකක් 200,000. For the second time you get a gain of 500,000. හරි. අපෙන් අහනවා how these revaluations reported. හරි. මම මේකේ double entries ලියලා ඉන්නම්කෝ. First time revaluation loss. What is the double entry? First time revaluation loss should be debited to the P&L. P&L debit, respective assets account credit 200,000. Second time revaluation gain එකේ double entry එක land debit 500,000. land එකට debit කරන්න 500,000. land වැඩි වෙනවනේ. දැන් 1,100,000 1,600,000 up කරන්න ඕනේ. හැබැයි පුතා, can I credit the whole 500,000 to the revaluation reserve? No. There was a corresponding revaluation loss. Up to the loss, it has to be credited to the P&L. The balance amount only goes to the revaluation reserve account. That is 300,000. And now which one is the correct answer? පළවෙනි එක කියනවා loss of 200,000 recognize. ඒක හරිනේ. ඒක හරි. Gain of 200,000 would be recognized and 300,000 treated as a revaluation reserve. හරි. First one is the correct answer. ඊළඟ එක වැරදි. ඊළඟ එකත් වැරදි. මොකද gain එක 200,000 විතරක් නෙමෙයිනේ. Which one is the correct answer පුතා? First one is the correct answer. loss of 200,000 need to be recognized from the first time, second time, the gain of 200 and revaluation reserve 300,000. Clear? Right, do the corrections. First one is the correct answer. Question number 26. The cost of productions of a product is equal to පළවෙනි එක direct and overheads. පුතේ මේ අහන්නේ cost of production, cost of manufacturing ගන්නේ overheads. අපි මේකට add කරොත් overheads as the non production overhead as well. Right? ඒක අපිට අයින් කරලා දාන්න පුළුවන්. Raw material cost and the labor and the overheads ගන්න නැද්ද? නේද? other cost ගන්න නැද්ද? වැරදි. Prime cost and the production overheads. ඒක හරි වගේ. ඊළඟ එක prime cost and manufacturing. පුතේ manufacturing account ඇතුලේ ආයි prime cost එක තියෙනවා. ඒකත් වැරදි. Manufacturing and non-manufacturing, වැරදි. Which one is the correct answer? Prime cost plus production overhead. Third one is the correct answer. Third one. Question number 26. Third one is the correct answer. Right. Up here now 27. මේ ප්‍රශ්නවල එකක් ඔයාට මේ පේපර් එක පැයකින් එකමාරකින් හදන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ. දෙවුණ එක වරදින්න බෑ එකක්වත් තා. පැහැදිලි. මේව ප්‍රශ්නද පුතා? හරිද? The quarterly demand is 1,250, purchase price of the raw material 250, ordering cost 25, annual holding cost 10 per unit, 10% per unit cost. They wanted to calculate the EOQ. Right, what's the formula in calculating the EOQ? EOQ equal to DCO divided by CH square root. 2 is a constant figure. D is the demand or annual demand. Annual demand. මේ දීලා තියෙන්නේ quarterly නේ 1,250 multiplied by 4. එතකොට 5,000, right? 5,000. Cost per order. $25. Annual holding cost per unit is $25. I 25 ආවේ 250 නේ price එක. එතකොට annual holding cost per unit 250 into 10%, that is 25. එතකොට මේ දෙක set off වෙනවා. 10,000 square root of 10,000. Square root of 1 is 100 units. 100 units. Second one is the correct answer. Right, 28. 28. ඉවර කරගන්න. A company produces and sells a single product. Selling price is 75. Puta, selling price is 75. The variable cost is 50. Average variable cost is 50. And our contribution per unit is 25. Total fixed cost 50,000. The break-even point in units and the margin of safety. If the expected level is level of sales 5,000. Alright. With a break-even point, how do you calculate? Total fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. Total fixed cost 50,000, contribution per unit 25. Is it 2,000? Break-even point in units 2,000. ඊළඟට අපි margin of safety අහනවා. How do you calculate the margin of safety? MOS equal expected sales minus break-even sales. You are expecting to sell 5,000, break-even sales 2,000, margin of safety 3,000. Margin of safety 3,000. Right. What next? එතකොට 2000 and 3000. Margin of safety, they want you to calculate in values. MOS in values, how do you calculate? MOS in values. MOS in units into selling price. Selling price is 75. 225,000. 225,000. 2,225,000. Second one is the correct answer. 28. Second one is the correct answer. Right. 29. අපේ 2 minutes accounting videos ටික බලන්න අපි තව videos upload කරනවා ඉස්සරහට. ඔයාගේ සම්පූර්ණ theory part එක paper එකේ cover වෙනවා මතක තියාගන්න. දැන් මේකත් ඒ වගේ question එකක් නේ. මේ 2 minutes accounting වලින් අපි කතා කරපු questions ගොඩක් තියෙනවා මේකේ. Which of the following statements are correct in relation to the break even point? At the break even point, there's neither profit nor loss. හරිනේ. No profit no loss. Total contribution is equal to the total fixed cost. හරිනේ. Sales revenue equal to the total cost. හරිනේ. ඒකනේ profit එකකුයි loss එකකුයි නැත්තේ. Sales revenue equal to the variable cost. වැරදීනේ. Total fixed cost equal to the total. ඒකත් වැරදීනේ. What are the characteristics of the break even point? What are the characteristics of the break even point? Profit equals 0. TR equal TC. Total fixed cost equal total contribution. Average fixed cost equal average contribution. එහෙම නැත්නම් unit contribution. හරි. එහෙනම් what were the characteristics? A ගන්න පුළුවන්. Number B also you can take. C also you can take, but not the D and E. A, B, C. First one is the correct answer. First one is the correct answer. Right. Question number 30. Which of the following item including the estimated cash flows of a new project? පුතා මම එක වචනයක් දුන්නා capital budgeting වලදී ඕගලන්ට ගන්න කියලා. What do we take? Incremental future cash flows. What do you take? Incremental future cash flows. එතකොට පළවෙනි එක cost of acquisitions of the project. Incremental නේ project cash flows නේ future නේ ගන්න. Depreciation non cash ගන්න එපා. Expected residual value. Incremental future cash flow එකක් ගන්න. Operating cost incurred future the past ගන්න එපා. Sunk cost incurred sorry D operating cost to be incurred ගන්න තාම incur කරලා නැහැ. Future cash flow එකක් ගන්න incremental. ගන්න එපා. Incurred to carried out market survey එක ඉක කරලා ඉවරයි. Sunk cost එකක් past cost එකක්. ගන්න A C and D. A C D. Second one is the correct answer. Second one is the correct answer. හරි. ඔන්න පළවෙනි questions ටික ඉවරයි. හරි අපි එනවා මේ second part එකට. මේකේ short question නේ මේ short answers නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ expect කරන්නේ. they are expecting the short answers. පළවෙනි එක state the differences between the financial accounting and the management accounting. හරි. we take here financial accounting and the management accounting. First one, users. Puta, who are the users in financial accounting? Both external and internal stakeholders. මෙතන internal stakeholders like කියන්නේ managers, එහෙම නැත්නම් board of directors. Management accounting වලදී only the internal stakeholders or the managers. Frequency financial accounting annually. එහෙම නැත්නම් මොනවාද? At the end of each year annually. එහෙම නැත්නම් end of each year annually. Make as appropriate. එහෙම නැත්නම් whenever managers need. පුතා management accounting provide the information whenever managers need. Right? Question number 31. Annually whenever managers need. External and internal, and this is internal. Right. Next one. During the year, assets of the business was increased by 400,000 and the liability was increased by 50. If the profit of the business 250, how much is the additional capital? පුතා දැන් අපිට මෙන්න මෙහෙම profit equation එකක් අපි use කරා මතකද? Changes in total assets minus changes in total liabilities minus net capital introduced. මතකද අපි profit equation තුනක් කතා කරා, තුනෙන් එකක් ඕක. ඉතින් ඔන්න ඕකට substitute කරලා අපිට මේ උත්තරේ හොයාගන්න පුළුවන්නේ. During the year, the total asset was increased by 400,000. මේ assets 400,000 වලින් liability increase එක නිසා වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා කීයක්ද? 50,000 එක අයින් කරන්න. Profit of the business 250,000. එහෙනම් how much the net capital introduced? පුතා මෙතන 400,000 minus 50,000 350. එහෙනම් this is 100,000 නේද? මේක 100,000 වුණොත් මේක 250 වෙන්නේ නේ? හරි නේද? Changes in total assets 400,000. Changes in liability 50,000. Profit for the period 250. එහෙනම් net the capital introduced by the owner has to be 100,000. Capital introduced by the owner should be 100,000. එක ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න. හරි. ඊළඟට එයා ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහනවා. State two statutory bodies that have been established under the Sri Lanka Accounting and Auditing Standard Act. පුතා මේ 1995 Auditing Standard Accounting and Auditing Standard Act එකෙන් තමයි අපි Accounting Standard Committee එක Auditing Standard Committee එක දෙකම introduce කරේ. ලියන්න පළවෙනි එක. Accounting Standard Committee. Accounting Standard Committee. Next one, Auditing Standard Committee. Auditing Standard Committee. ඊළඟ එක Accounting and Auditing Standard Monitoring Board. ඔය තුනම introduce කරා. ඔකෙන් දෙකයි අහලා තියෙන්නේ නේ. There was only two. Accounting Standard Act Committee and the Auditing Standard Committee. Right. ඊළඟට එයා ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහනවා question number 34 වලින් qualitative characteristics ගැන. දැන් මේ ප්‍රශ්න කරගෙන යද්දී මේ මෙතන අපි theory part එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන් කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ. මම theory මුකුත් කතා කරේ නැහැ මෙතන. මුකුත්ම කරන්නෙත් නැහැ. තේරුණාද? ඒක ඔයාගේ වැඩක්. theory class වල උගන්වලා තියෙනවා, paper class වල උගන්වලා තියෙනවා, revisions වල උගන්වලා තියෙනවා theory. දැන් මේ ප්‍රශ්න පත්‍ර දාන්නේ කොහොමද? approach කරන්නේ කොහොමද? shortcuts කොහොමද හොයාගන්නේ? ප්‍රශ්න කියවන්නේ කොහොමද? timing හදාගන්නේ කොහොමද? මේ දේවල් කතා කරන්නේ. ඒක ඒ වෙලාවේ හදාගන්න දැන්. පැහැදිලිද? එතකොට මේ කරගෙන යද්දී ඔයාට මේ ස්පීඩ් එකට යන්න බැරි නම් මේක මිස් වෙලා තියෙනවා නම් ඔයාගේ ජොබ් එකක් තියෙනවා. paper එක අරගෙන, tute එක අරගෙන ඒ theory parts ටික cover කරගන්න. පැහැදිලිද? මෙතන theory parts අපි cover කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒකත් මතක තියාගන්න. We don't cover the theory part. එහෙම කරොත් අපිට ඉතින් මේක කරන්න හම්බ වෙන්නේ නැහැ නේ. හරිද? මෙතන වෙන වැඩක් වෙන්නේ. මේ වැඩේ අඳුර ගන්න. Try to identify that particular thing. හරි? Okay. What is a qualitative characteristic? Equipment is depreciated on the straight line method in each year. Now make it hanaputa. What is the qualitative characteristic of accounting information applied in each of the following situations by the entity? Mana the palawani එක equipment is depreciated on the straight line method in each year. උදා හැම අවුරුද්දම අපි එකම policy එක apply කරනවා. මොකක්ද? Consistency. නේද? consistency. මෙතන මේ qualitative characteristics ගැන අහනවා පුතා. එතකොට දැන් qualitative characteristic එක මේක inline කරන්න බෑ. හරි නේද? ඊළඟ එක equipments acquired under the finance lease, right? You recorded as an asset. දැන් මම qualitative characteristic පොඩ්ඩක් summarize කරොත් මොනවාද? Qualitative characteristics are two types. Fundamental qualitative characteristics and enhancing qualitative characteristics. What are the fundamental qualitative characteristics? Relevance. Relevance. And faithful representation. What are the enhancing qualitative characteristics? Comparability, verifiability, timeliness, and understandability. Right? එතකොට පුතා දැන් මෙතන මේ equipments අපි same method එකකට දැන් මෙතන මේගොල්ලන්ගේ marking scheme එක මම පොඩ්ඩක් බැලුවොත් marking scheme එකේ මේගොල්ලෝ mention කරලා තියෙනවා පුතා මේ consistency and the substance of. හරිද? මේ දෙකම qualitative characteristics නෙමෙයි යා. හරිද? මේකේ අහලා තියෙන්නේ හැබැයි qualitative characteristics කියලා. හැබැයි යා ගේන්න ඕනේ accounting concept එක. ඒ accounting concept එකක් නම් same accounting policy why do you apply in each year, that is due to the consistency concept. Lease assets මේ finance lease කියන කතාව දැන් කතා කරන්නේ lease. දැන් lease අපි record කරන්නේ due to the substance over form concepts, right? එතකොට qualitative characteristics are these are the qualitative characteristics, but this question doesn't cover the qualitative characteristics here, right? Okay. Question number 35. State the accounting concept that is mostly related in each. Revenue is recognized in the income statements when it is earned. What the concept is the question? Realization concept. Realization. Lifespans of the business divide into equal subunits and prepare the financial statement. මොකක්ද? Periodicity concepts. Periodicity concepts. If I write them, A. Realization concepts. B. Periodic concepts. C. Adjustments for the inflations are not made. මොකක්ද? Money measurement concepts. Money measurement concepts. D. Provision is made in relation to the warranty for the future losses you immediately identify due to the prudence concepts. Realization, periodic, money measurements, and the prudence. Right. Okay. Next one. මේක මේ ඕනේ නම් අපිට historical cost concept එකක් මේකට ගේන්න පුළුවන් නා. Historical cost concept. Historical cost concepts. අපි ඇයි මේ වැඩි වෙන එක ගන්නෙ නැත්තේ? ඇයි අඩු වෙන එක ගන්නෙ නැත්තේ? Because we are recording the assets at the historical cost. හරි. ඊළඟ එක. Question number 36. පුතා receipts and the payment journal and the income and expenditure account මේ දෙකේ differences අහනවා. පළවෙනි එක purpose, දෙවෙනි එක basis. Basis අපි ඉස්සෙල්ලා කතා කරොත් receipts and the payment journal you prepared on what basis? Cash basis. This you prepared on what basis? Accrual basis. Purpose is what? Purpose of the receipts and the payment journal to calculate the cash balance. Income and expenditure to find the surplus or the deficit. To find the surplus or deficit. Another? Yes. Ilanika. Question number 37. Office expenses amounting to 60,000 incurred by the entity on 31st March 2012 has been posted as 600,000 office equipment purchases. The office equipment depreciated the 10% per annum on straight line method, and the depreciation for the month has been provided. Hari, Megiana, what is the net impact of the error? Put it අපි මේ office expenses නේ. Office expenses අපි asset එකක් විදියට consider කරපු නිසා profit එක වැඩි වෙනවා කීයකින්ද? 60,000 වලින්. ඒක හරි නේද? දැන් expense එකක් recognize වෙලා නැහැනේ. 60,000 worth office expenses debited to the office equipment account. Again, 60,000 worth office expenses has not been recognized. Enough profit increased by 60. Anik පැත්තෙන් this was debited to the asset account. As this was recorded in the assets account, this has been depreciated. The depreciate වෙන්නේ කොහොමද? 600,000 rate of 10% into 12. 60,000 divided by 2, it's 5,000. හරි නේද? Depreciations කියද rupees 5,000. එතකොට පුතා මාසයක් මේක depreciate වෙලා. මාසයක් depreciate වෙච්ච නිසා profit එක අඩු වෙනවා කීයකින්ද? 5,000 වලින්. එහෙනම් මේක නිසා මේ transaction එක නිසා profit will increase by 55,000. Profit will increase by 55,000. Office expenses 60 incurred by the business has been recorded 600,000 in the office equipment. Office equipment was recorded in 600,000. The office equipment is depreciated 10% on straight line method. And about 600,000 to 10%, 60 divided by 12, 5,000. මාසෙකට depreciate කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ depreciate කරන නිසා profit එක අඩු වෙනවා. Expense එක recognize කරපු නැති නිසා profit එක වැඩි වෙනවා 55,000. Write the journal entry to correct the office equipment and the office expense. හරි. පුතා අපි error එකක් rectify කරද්දී follow කරන්න ඕන steps තුනක් කිව්වනේ. පළවෙනි එක තමයි identify the erroneous entry. හරි. මෙයා මොකද්ද කරලා තියෙන්නේ? Office expenses incurred by the business 60, cash and the office equipment account. මේක කියනවා office expenses incurred 60 has been debited to the office equipment account as 600,000. ඒ කියන්නේ පුතා cash account එක ගැන මොකද කියන්නේ නැහැනේ. cash account එකේ හරියට record කරලා office equipment account එකේ record කරලා තියෙන්නේ කීයයි කියලාද? 600,000. ඔන්න එයා pass කරලා තියෙන erroneous entry එක. මට කියන්න මේකට suspense account එකක් ඕනේද? ඕනේනේ. You should have a suspense account with a credit balance of 540. On the debit side 600, credit side nothing. So then you introduce a suspense account. On the correction, what should I do then? මෙතන මේ 600 තියාගෙන ඉන්න එක වැරදිනේ. ඒක අයින් කරන්න. එහෙනම් මොකද 600,000 මේකට credit කරන්න. credit කරලා debit කරන්න කොහෙටද? Office expenses account rupees 60,000. Difference එක credit කරනවා debit කරනවා කොහෙටද? Suspense account එකට 540. එහෙනම් මෙතන correction entry එක පුතා මේ 600 office expense account debit කරපු 600 අයින් කරන්න අපි credit කරා. එහෙනම් office expenses credit rupees 600,000. Office equipment account. Office equipment account එකනේ 600 debit උනේ ඒක credit කරා. Office expenses account එකට debit කරන්න 60,000 හරි amount එක. Suspense account එකට debit කරන්න කීයද? 540,000. ඔන්න correction entry. Corrected entry. හරිද? Is that clear? Corrected entry, office expenses debit 60, suspense account debit 540, office equipment credit 600,000. Right. ඊළඟට එයා question එකක් අහනවා. Amal Traders lost its entire inventory as at 31st. Entire inventory was lost 31st March 2012 due to a fire. The information is available on this day they have given. What is the amount of inventory that has been destroyed? And what is the impact on the total assets of the company if the insurance company agreed to indemnify 80% of the loss? හරි. අපි ගත්තොත් පුතා ඔයාගේ මේ දීලා තියෙන information වලින් අපිට කරන්න තියෙන එකම දේ just prepare a trading account and find the loss. මොකද all these are connected to the gross profit. And you can take all these in a trading account. Trading account එකේ there's an opening balance of 200,000. There's a sales 2 million. There was a purchases how much? 1,500,000. එහෙනම් පුතා inventory held for sale 1,700,000. The total sales 2 million. Take into the other side 2 million. Your gross profit margin is 20% on sales නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ කෙලින්ම මේකෙන් 20% gross profit. ඒ කියන්නේ පුතා 400,000 නේද? 400,000. Okay, gross profit එක. Your GP is 20% from the sales. This is 2 million into 20%. That is 400,000. එන පුතා cost of sales කියද 1,600,000. ඒකත් හරි නේද? මොකද when the sales is 2 million, gross profit is 400,000, cost of sales 1,600,000. ඒතරවාගේ inventory held for sale 1,700,000. Cost of sales 1,600,000. එනවාගේ closing stock එක කියද 100,000. Your closing stock is how much? Rupees 100,000. Am I right? එතකොට damage එච්ච ගාන කියද? Rupees 100,000. Clear? හරි. ඊළඟට අහනවා what is the net impact of the total assets if 80% is indemnified? හරි. ඔයාගේ loss එක පුතා ඔයාගේ stock එක තියෙනවනේ 800 හැබැයි 80% indemnify කියලා කියන්නේ ඔයාගේ loss එක කීයද? Just 20,000. Your loss just reduced by how much? 20,000. හරි නේද? Yes. That is because of what? The insurance claim. ඔයාගේ damage එක වෙන වෙලාව වෙනකොට stock එකේ 100,000 stock එකක් තිබ්බා store එකේ. හැබැයි ඒක ඔක්කොම damage වුණා. හැබැයි insurance claim එකක් හම් වෙනවා 80%. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයාගේ loss එක 20%. Question number 40. The following information is given with regard to the manufacturing firm. Assume that all the work in progress are adjusted to the total cost of production. Manufactured items are sold by keeping a gross profit margin 25% on sales. ඇත්තට මේක markup වෙන්න ඕනේ නේද? හරි. එයා අපිට prime cost එක calculate කරන්න කියනවා. හැබැයි WIP value කරලා තියෙන්නේ at total cost of production. හරි. Prime cost is a total of all direct cost. මොනවාද ගන්නේ prime cost එකට? Raw material purchases. How the raw material purchases පුතා? 300,000. raw material මෙතන වැඩි වෙලාද අඩු වෙලාද තියෙන්නේ? අවුරුද්ද මුල raw material තියෙනවා 100,000. අවුරුද්ද අග තියෙනවා 50,000. ඒ කියන්නේ decrease එකක් add කරන්න. Decrease in raw material stock rupees 50,000. එහෙනම් එනවා raw material consumptions direct material cost 250. බලන්න දැන් opening stock එක එකතු කරලා closing stock එක අඩු කර එහෙම දඟලන්නේ නැහැ. කෙනින්ම change එක ගන්න MCQ. Right? Direct labor 170. Direct labor 170. Direct other expense 30,000. Pute, do we need to adjust the work in progress here? No, because the work in progress are adjusted at the total cost of production. Enang prime cost 550,000. Yes, 550. ඊළඟට අපිට calculate කරන්න කියනවා cost of production. Cost of production calculate කරන්න නම් මේකට add කරන්න production overheads. How much the production overheads? 300,000. ඒ විතරක් නෙමෙයි WIP. WIP adjust කරන්න total cost එකට. පුතා WIP වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනනේ increase එකක්. ඒ කියන්නේ there was an increase in work in progress. Increase එකක් නම් 50,000 is a increase subtracted. එහෙනම් that is 800,000. මොකක්ද මේ? Cost of production rupees 800,000. What is the gross profit? පුතා GP එක 25% on the cost of sales. හරි. මේ තියෙන cost of productions නේ. එතකොට cost of productions 800,000. මේක cost of sales කරන්න. Cost of sales කරන්න නම් finished goods adjust කරන්න. Finished goods මොකද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? Decrease වෙලා තියෙනවා කීයකින්ද? 80,000. එහෙනම් ඒක අඩු කරන්න. Sorry, decrease නම් එකතු කරන්න. Increase එකක් නෙමෙයි decrease නේ. එහෙනම් that is 880. ඔන්න පුතේ business එකේ cost of sales 880. ඕකට 25%. GP ඒ කියන්නේ 220,000. Gross profit is how much කියන්නේ? 220,000. Is that clear? Cost of production 800,000. Gross profit is 220,000. Clear now? Question number 41. හරි. ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න. ඒ දෙකම මම එකපාර ඉවර කරා. If you have any question, please raise them before moving to the next. We'll move to the next. Question number 42 and 43. මේක කියනවා the extractions of the balance sheets of Pasindu PLC as at 31st March 2012 and 31st March 2011 in relation to the plant and machinery are given below. Beginning of the year, end of the year, cost and the accumulated depreciations they have given. Company sold a machine which had a cost of 300,000 for rupees 160,000. On that day, carrying amount of the machine was 200,000. Again, accumulated depreciation 100,000. On the same day, new machine was acquired for cash. State the cash inflows and outflows from the investment activities related to the plant and machinery. හරි. පුතේ මම මාගෙන් අහන්නම් මේකේ cash inflows cash outflows මොනවද කියලා අහනවා with regard to the plant and machinery. Cash inflows නම් අපිට එකපාරටම කියන්න පුළුවන් නේ. Cash inflows අපිට එකපාරටම කියන්න පුළුවන්. කොහොමද? මොකද මේ asset එක විකුණලා අපිට සල්ලි හම්බ වෙලා තියෙනවා කීයක්ද? Cash inflows $120,000. Here the 120, the 160,000. ඒක හරිනේ. ඊළඟට මේක මේක අපි purchase කරලා තියෙන asset එකක් නේ. එතකොට මේ purchase කරපු ගාන අපි කොහොමද හොයාගන්නේ? How do you identify the purchased amount? අන්න ඒකට පුතා අපිට වෙනවා PPE account එකක් අඳින්න. අපි අඳිමු PPE එන plant and machinery account. පුතා opening balance of the plant and machinery how much? 1 million. Closing balance of the plant and machinery 1,500,000. අපි dispose කරලා තියෙනවා asset එකක්. ඒකේ cost එක 300,000. අපිට ඕනේ addition එකනේ 1,800,000 1,800,000. එහෙනම් පුතා how much the amount that you have purchased? 800,000. එහෙනම් පුතා අපි සල්ලි වලින් ගෙවලා තියෙනවා කොච්චරක්ද? 800,000. 160 අපිට inflow එකක් තියෙනවා. හැබැයි outflow එකක් තියෙනවා 800,000. හරි. ඊළඟට අපිට calculate කරන්න කියනවා identify the non-cash item resulting from the above transaction. Non-cash item කියලා මෙතන ගන්න තියෙන්නේ එකක් depreciation අනිත් එක disposal gain or loss. One is depreciation, other one is a disposal gain or loss. හරි. disposal gain or loss එක හොයන්නත් depreciation හොයන්නත් ඕනේ. අපි ඉස්සෙල්ලාම අදිමු එහෙනම් disposal account and the accumulated depreciation account. Here you have the disposal and the accumulated depreciation. පුතා disposal account එක හදලෙමු. disposal account එකට අපි debit කරනවා cost of the asset. Cost of the assets that you dispose 300 you need to credit. Accumulated depreciation 100,000 you need to credit. netbook value එක කෙලින්ම record කරත් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ. මේක අපි sell කරලා තියෙන්නේ කීයටද? cash 160 වලට. එහෙනම් පුතා මේකේ තියෙන්නේ difference එක 40. ඒක gain එකක්ද loss එකක්ද? loss එකක්. loss එකක්. මොකද that goes to the profit and loss, that is 40,000. හරි නේද? ඊළඟට depreciations. annual depreciations හොයන්න අපිට use කරන්න වෙන්නේ accumulated depreciation account එක. accumulated depreciations opening balance you get 400,000. accumulated depreciation closing account has a balance of 500. අපි මේ dispose කරලා තියෙනවා asset එකක්. ඒ asset එකෙන් අපි accumulated depreciation අයින් කරලා තියෙනවා. කීයක්ද? 100,000. එහෙනම් පුතා ඉතුරු figure එක 200,000. That is depreciation. And annual depreciation is how much? Rupees 200,000. Arneda? Yes. Right. Question number 45. Identify the following costs related to the shoe manufacturing firm as direct and indirect. Wage output එක shoe manufacturing firm එක. Cost of processed leather. It is included in the finished product. Direct. Factory manager salary, indirect. Wages of the machine operator, direct. Depreciation, indirect. Hari. 46. मैं आपෙන් අහනවා cost එක classify කරන්න කියලා fixed, variable, semi variable. Direct labor. පුතේ direct labor එක double වෙලානේ. අපි කිව්වා when the level of production is double, if the cost is double, then it's a variable cost. එහෙනම් direct labor is a variable cost. Electricity production was double. production එක double වෙලා. හැබැයි cost එක double වෙලා නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ variable නෙමෙයි. production එක double වෙද්දි cost එක double වෙන්නේ නැත්නම් ඒක variable නෙමෙයි. ඒ වගේ මේක fixed උත් නෙමෙයි. මොකද production එක වැඩි වෙද්දි fixed නම් වැඩි වෙන්න බෑනේ. එහෙනම් it is not a variable, it's not a fixed. Then it is a semi variable. Next one. Factory rent. The rent hasn't been changed even when you increase the level of production from 10 to 20. Then it is what? Fixed cost. Then it is fixed cost. Variable, semi-variable, and the fixed cost. Right. Next one. A company buys and sells a single product. Selling price 250. Opening inventory 100,000. Hurry. Opening balance 100 units. At 150, then you purchase another 150 units at 200, and you sold 200 units. They want you to calculate the cost of sales. But how to find the cost of sales then? මේ 200 cost එක කොහොමද හොයන්නේ? FIFO නේ අපිට use කරන්න කියන්නේ මොන method එකද? FIFO. FIFO වලදී කලින් ගත්ත ඒවා කලින් issue කරනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ 200 issue කරද්දී issue කරන්නේ මේ 100න් නේ. එහෙනම් 15,000. ඉතුරු 100 issue කරන්නේ ඊළඟ එකෙන්. ඊළඟ එක අරන් තියෙන 200 ගානේ 20,000. If you use a FIFO method, cost of sales is 35,000. අර නේද? Value of the closing stock. පුතා closing stock එක then මේ 100 ඉවරයි. මේ 150න් 100ක් ඉෂුව කරන්නේ නම් 50යි ඉතුරු. ඒ 50 ඉතුරු වෙන්නේ 200 ගාන ගත්තේ වලින්. That is 10,000. If you use a FIFO method, cost of sales 35,000. Cost of sales 35,000. Closing stock 10,000. Closing stock 15 to. What is the gross profit if business use a weighted average method? Hurry. Gross profit, how do you calculate? This is under the weighted average method. Gross profit, how do you calculate? First you get the sales. How many units you sold? 200 units sell karna at 250 each. 200 into 250. Then that is 50,000. Cost of sales. පුතේ මේ 200 cost of sales අපි හොයන්නේ කොහොමද? එතෙන්දී අපි issue කරන්නේ මොනවාද? artificial single price. අපි මේ 200 issue කරනකොට weighted average method එකට value is 15,000. ඊළඟට 150 අපි purchase කරලා තිබ්බා. 150 ගානේ 200. ඒ කියන්නේ 30,000. එහෙනම් value is 45,000. This is 250. එහෙනම් weighted average price එක කීයද? 45,000 divide by 250. මට කියන්න පුතා weighted average price එක කීයද? 45,000 weighted average price එක 15,000, 30,000. Again, 45,000 divided by 250. Here. It's 180, right? That is 180. Then 36,000. Then the gross profit is how much? Is at 14,000. Gross profit is rupees 14,000. Clear? Right. Give it again. The following are the budgeted revenue and the cost related information for a single product manufactured. Sales volume 20, selling price 20, CS ratio 40, fixed cost 100,000. You are required to calculate the break even point. Okay. BEP in units. How to calculate the BEP in units? How to calculate the BEP in units? BEP is equal total fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. Make a total fixed cost එක දීලා තියෙනවා 100,000. Contribution එක කීයද පුතා? Selling price එක 20 නේ. CS ratio එක 40%. ඒ කියන්නේ 8 නේ. මොකද selling price into CS ratio is equal to the contribution. එතකොට that is 8. එහෙනම් this you need to divide by 8. 12,500 the break even point. බලන්න. Break even point 12,500. හරි. ඊළඟට අපි calculate කරන්න කියනවා profit at the budgeted sales volume. පුතා ඔයාගේ budgeted sales volume එක 20,000 නේ. හරි. එතකොට අපි දන්නවා profit equal margin of safety into contribution per unit. Margin of safety කියද දැන් break even point එක 12,500 නේ. Margin of safety එතකොට 7,500. හරි නේද මම? මොකද MOS මේ profit එක හොයන්න එක විදි තියෙනවා. මගේ දැන් ඔළුවට ආවේ මේක. Sales minus break even sales. එතකොට sales 20,000, break even sales 12,500, margin of safety 7,500. Contribution per unit is 8. Then that is 60,000. Profit is 60. Margin of safety into contribution per unit. Margin of safety into contribution per unit. Another. Right. Last one. Assume other factors remain unchanged. State whether each of the following item increases, decreases the NPV. How are you supposed to calculate the NPV? NPV හොයන්න කොහොමද? Present value of the cash inflows minus present value of the cash outflows. හරි නේද? එතකොට present value හොයන්නේ කොහොමද? Future value into the discounting factor. Discounting factor එක හොයන්නේ කොහොමද? 1/1 plus r into the power n. Right. මේකට කියනවා discounting rate. මේකට කියනවා discounting factor. හරි. පළවෙනි එක. Increase in the expected cash inflows. මේ cash inflows වැඩි වෙනකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? NPV also what? කියන්න. Increases. හරි නේද? ඒක හරි. NPV වැඩි වෙනවා. Increase in the discount rate. මෙන්න මේ discount rate එක කියන්නේ මේක. මේ දෙන්නේ මේක. Discount rate එක කියන්නේ interest rate. ඒ interest rate එක වැඩි වෙනකොට NPV අඩු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. cost එක වැඩි ඉන්නේ. NPV decrease. Discounting factor එකයි discounting rate එක අඳුර ගන්න. Discounting rate එක use කරලා factor එක calculate කරනවා. ඩිස්කවුන්ට් රේට් එක කියලා කියන්නේ cost of capital. එහෙම නැත්නම් සරලව මතක තියාගන්න rate of interest. So when the rate of interest increases, discounting factor decreases. As a result, NPV decreases. Decrease in the initial investment. Initial investment එක අඩු වෙන එක හොඳද? හොඳයිනේ. පොඩි ගාණක් නම් ඉන්වෙස්ට් කරන්න තියෙන එක හොඳයි. ඒ කියන්නේ initial investment එක අඩු වෙනවා නම් මොකද වෙන්නේ? NPV වැඩි වෙනවා. අන්තිමට decrease in the residual value. Residual value එක අඩු වෙනවා. Residual value එක අඩු වෙනවා කියන්නේ residual value කියන්නේ cash inflow එක. Residual value කියන්නේ cash inflow එක. නේ ඒක අඩු වෙනකොට NPV අඩු වෙනවා. NPV decrease. එතකොට පළවෙනි එක උන්දා බලන්න. Increase in expected cash inflow, NPV increases. Increase in discounting rate, NPV decreases. Decrease in initial investment. Initial investment එක අඩු වෙනවා. Decrease in initial investment එක අඩු වෙනවා නම් මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඔයාගේ cash outflow එක decrease in initial investment. එතකොට cash outflow එක අඩු වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ NPV increases. ඊළඟ residual value decrease වෙනකොට residual value අඩු වෙන එක inflow එක අඩු වෙනවා. එහෙනම් NPV decreases. හරි. Okay, we have done all 50 question from the 2012 level paper. මම හිතන්නේ අපි පටන් ගත්තේ 8ට විතර explanations එක අපිට පුළුවන් වුණා paper එක 1 hour and 30 minutes වලින් ඉවර කරන්න. මම කියන්නේ ඔයාගේ target එකත් එහෙමයි. 13ත් එහෙමයි. 14ත් එහෙමයි. 15ත් එහෙමයි. 12 කරලා මම හැමතිස්සම කියන්නේ 13 කරනකොට අමාරු නෑනේ. ඒ නිසා 12 කරලා 13 කරන්න, 13 කරලා 14 කරන්න. pass papers කරපො නැති කට්ටිය ඉන්නවා නම් ඒව කරලා ඉවර කරගන්න. හරි නේද? right. හරි. අපි ඊළඟ discussion එකකදී ආපහු හම්බ වෙමු. right. ඕගලන්ට ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් මොනවා හරි අහන්න. ඒ වගේම මට පොඩි කමෙන්ට් එකක් දාන්න පුතා. අපි කරපු විදිය කොහොමද ඔයාලට ඉෆෙක්ටිව්ද? මීට වඩා තම හොඳ විදියකට මේක කරන්න තිබ්බද? මේක ස්පීඩ් වැඩිද, අඩුයිද, එක්ස්ප්ලනේෂන්ස් වදිද, වැඩිද? මට මේක ගැන පොඩි කමෙන්ට් එකක් දාන්න. එහෙම වුණොත් අපිට ඉස්සරහ ඩිස්කෂන්ස් වලදී ඒක ඉම්පෝටන්ට් වෙයි. හරි. මම ආපහු ඩිස්කෂන්ස් තියෙන වෙලාවදී වල කතා කරන්නම්. එතකොට ඕන කෙනෙක්ට ක්ලාස් එකට ජොයින් වෙලා මේක ඉවර කරගන්න පුළුවන්. හරි. පාස් පේපර්ස් දැන් කරන්න මේ පොඩි එන්කරේජ්මන්ට් එකක් ඕගොල්ලන්ව පාස් පේපර්ස් කරවන්න. දැන් 13 කරලා තියාගන්න මම කරන දවස් වල ඉක්මනටම කියන්න. හරි.